Well, it's finally fight night, and oh my gosh, bro, we see the fit. Following up on the promise of the fight between Machamp and Hawlucha from the other day, we have a 4-minute animation posted onto the Pokemon YouTube channel, and yeah, it is really cool. So immediately things are set up with a Hawlucha who loves a crowd, loves posing, loves entertaining, and his trainer along its side, who I just gotta say I love the colors that she wears. And immediately there's some funny contrast between Hawlucha posing and everything, and just the way that the trainer's trying to take things a little more seriously. Their opponent is a Machamp, the definitive fighting type Pokemon. So the battle begins without much of a warning, and there was some great animation here. Blows are exchanged. It seems kind of the general 3D art style that is sometimes used in Pokemon, but I really do think that it fits, especially with some of the 2D elements that are incorporated. Maybe Hawlucha is a little too much of an entertainer, taking time to stop and pose and not noticing that Machamp is right behind it, where Machamp gets the other hand and nearly defeats it. I love that there's a little flashback moment, again using 2D, showing many of the other times that Hawlucha has lost fights and some of the training that it's done with the trainer, really bringing together their bond. So this is where Hawlucha basically apologizes and gets back in the fight, and we finally see the reveal of the Mega Bracelet that leads into the Mega Evolution, and oh my gosh, I love this design. I think that this is great. Maybe we'll get into it a little more later, but just the gold and the black is so striking and fits really well with the rest of the colors. The whole superhero thing of the whited out eyes is also great, and overall Hawlucha does look a bit bigger and bulkier. The absolute aura emanating from this Pokemon. So the fight continues, and as you would expect, Hawlucha gets the upper hand and, maintains it for most of the fight. It isn't a perfect and quick victory right away, but we see some great moves here and there. Potentially you could name them. This one maybe Seismic Toss as it throws it back onto the ground, and of course the finisher has to be a Flying Press, Hawlucha's signature move. So yeah, they win the battle. It's really great, fun animation. I think that this was something else really cool, sort of following up on the reveal that we had for Mega Victory Bell last week. That one was more in the style of found footage, had some horror elements in it, spooky vibes overall. That one had voice acting, but I felt that was necessary to add to the homage of the genre that it was trying to imitate. Meanwhile, in this one for Mega Hawlucha, while there are some moments that I think it could have benefited from at least, an audible cheer coming from the trainers, overall I think the fact that it was more action based and focused on the Pokemon themselves, and had an emotional element that could be communicated in a visual medium, I think I'm pretty fine with there being no voice acting and how it was presented. The background music itself was amazing and great, and I know they're never going to release it, but one can hope. And again, I think the style really works out. In some other situations when a Pokemon is shown off for the first time in 3D, maybe there's not necessarily the warmest reaction to it, generally because Pokemon are shown off in 2D first before we get the 3D version, at least in the past. But nowadays a lot of reveals being in trailers and animations like this, we see the 3D version first, and maybe that isn't necessarily the best way to show off a Pokemon. Meanwhile with Hawlucha, because the original form debuted in Generation 6 when the games were already in 3D, and also it fit really well in the style of this animation here, which, we utilized 3D pretty well because of the fight that you would need to get all those different angles and different movements of these Pokemon done. I think it really worked well, and especially because, the stylization of it had this Pokemon looking good when it first debuted, or, when it showed up and showed that it was a Mega Evolution. So yeah, this is a fun one. I almost like it a little better than the Mega Victory Bell animation, just because it had me so excited and literally cheering once I saw the design of Mega Hawlucha. And there was also a gameplay trailer shown off. This one has sort of a narrative to it as well, similar to the Victory Bell one last week, though I feel like a majority of the narrative in this gameplay trailer is pretty similar to the animation that we got, so maybe not necessarily a whole lot to say, but at the very least it does show off Hawlucha in the video game itself. And again, I think it was a really great translation. So over on the official Pokemon website, we get a little more information. For one thing, the stats on this Pokemon are pretty interesting. It's about a foot taller than the original form and weighs twice as much. Energy from Mega Evolution has pumped up the muscles in Hawlucha's body, enhancing not only its attack, but also its defense. That makes me think that maybe the stats are going to be more defense-based rather than speed-based. It clinches victory using its powerful Flying Press. It uses its muscles bulked up by Mega Evolution to take hit after hit from opponents' moves and flex its own strength. After luring its opponents into attacking, it retaliates to make them flinch before diving at them using its signature move, Flying Press, to aim for victory. A showboating entertainer who hypes up a crowd. Before Mega Evolving, Hawlucha would sometimes let its guard down as it became caught up in parading its flashy moves, but with newfound confidence in its own defensive capabilities, it can now show off again and again to both its opponent and its trainer. It lifts both hands and spreads its wings, constantly putting its beauty and tough pectoral muscles on full display. So yeah, great Pokemon. I love too that this is something we saw sort of in the anime, but I really do love that it is an entertainer first and foremost and really fits in with the Lucha Libre inspiration. But I really do think that, making it bigger and stronger and adding that gold is the perfect idea. For one thing, the original colors were already a great idea to imitate the Mexican flag, but now also incorporating some of that black and gold imitates the emblem of the eagle in the very middle. But also it is just a great way of building upon this design without making anything like too big or spiky or flashy. To the untrained eye it might look only slightly bigger, but in the actual gameplay and animation it's a bit more noticeable. I love too that the feathers around the waist kind of form a belt, though there is one big feather tuft in the middle that might be a little unfortunately placed. We might have a bit of a repeat of Blaziken and Pokken Tournament, which by the way, if they do not make another Pokken Tournament after this, oh that's going to be such a huge missed opportunity. But also a really funny interesting detail that comes along with this is the announcement that there's actually going to be a Pokemon Wrestling collaboration match taking place in Mexico next month. Like what? That's actually amazing. And you know, it really does make sense, especially after the Pokemon Presents earlier this year on Pokemon Day. You know, that one segment that a good amount of you might have skipped, when they were going over some of the details of Pokemon's increased presence in Latin America, with a new office set up in Mexico and Latin American Spanish being added as a language to the video games, as well as a trading card game. So now with all that going on, I think that Mega Hawlucha is the perfect way to bring it all together, and definitely a Pokemon from Generation 6 very deserving of a Mega Evolution. One of Ash's ace Pokemon of the anime during that time, and you know, one that even got like its own mask and Kate that people were saying that this should be Mega Hawlucha, and yeah, you know, more or less. It really is just a great time, and it is also really cool seeing that the design overall of Hawlucha is very well received. While I enjoy the last two, they were definitely polarizing, but I think the official design of Mega Hawlucha is better than what I had seen in predictions beforehand. I was a big fan of this reveal, especially because it came with an extra animation, and I think it's really cool that they're doing this for at least this Mega Evolution in the last one. I have no idea if this is something that's going to continue for the next few weeks until the release of the game, which could be possible, though I kind of hope that they slow down just a little bit. I think coming off of the Hyper World Championships was a perfect time to add two new Mega Evolutions, again, you know, Victory Bell and Mega Hawlucha, and like I said, I really do appreciate the effort that's being put in, but I hope we save a lot of surprises for the actual game itself. I will say though that this Mega Evolution was probably one of the worst kept secrets. Again, as we discussed earlier this week, the announcement tweet was pretty obvious that there would be some sort of Mega Evolution, and while Mega Machamp was possible, I think it was much more clear that it would be Mega Hawlucha. And on top of that, like literally the day before, they added a new episode of the Beyond the Pokédex series where they were covering Hawlucha. This is a series that they do on the official Pokemon YouTube channel. I think they've been going at it for about 2 years now. It is kind of interesting though, I never really brought it up, so let me know if it's something you think I should discuss in the future. And I think it is really cool that we finally have someone who can challenge Incineroar. The cat is going down, he stands no chance. So let me know what you think in the comments about the animation and Mega Hawlucha. And if you really enjoy the wrestling vibe and the entertainment value, then you can do the same by hyping up this video. That's a weird new feature that YouTube has added. Anyway, I should probably really get to my own training to be ready for the big fight. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, including the great Gators, DeAndre, Alex with Shiny Hunts, Cosmo Zero, Tyler Hopper, Lockadox, Koi13, Cemetery Hill, Jesus62, Gator Kid 509, TF, Matha Clock 947, Taijirai, Justin R, Phantom, and Quago. If you would like to support, see your name here, get access to emotes, for comments, live streams, sometimes daily videos, and our members podcast, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky as well for more memes. Anyway, this is GatorX, and I'll catch you all later.
Mega Lucario, Blaziken, Dragonite, Machamp. This will be flying with Pokemon Trading Card Game XY Furious Fist. Each booster pack of 10 cards sold separately. Cards vary by pack.